Welcome to Crime Story with Camila, where we dive deep into the most chilling and mysterious true crime cases. If you love real-life crime stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you the most in-depth investigations and untold stories. A quiet town in Ohio. A family that seemed normal. 3 little boys who had their whole lives ahead of them. But on June 15th, 2023, an unimaginable horror unfolded. One that would leave an entire community shattered and searching for answers. This is the story of Chad Doerman, the father who executed his 3 young sons in cold blood. A crime so disturbing, so unthinkable, that even seasoned investigators were left speechless. What led to this horrific act? Were there warning signs? And most importantly, how do we begin to understand the mind of a father who turned into a killer? Tonight, we take a deep dive into the tragedy that rocked Monroe Township, the legal battle that followed, and the questions that still haunt this case. This is the story of the Doerman killings. To understand how a tragedy of this magnitude could unfold, we must first look at the man behind the crime. Chad Doerman, a 32-year-old father living what appeared to be an ordinary life with his wife, Laura, and their 3 sons, Clayton, Hunter, and Chase. To neighbors and acquaintances, the Doerman family seemed typical. There were no public signs of turmoil, no outward indications of what was to come. But beneath the surface, something far darker was brewing. Born and raised in Ohio, Chad Doerman was not known for any major criminal activity. However, court records reveal a past dismissed domestic violence charge and minor traffic violations. There was no widely known history of severe mental illness, nor any formal psychiatric treatment. But those closest to him would later reveal troubling behavior leading up to the murders. In the days before the killings, Doerman reportedly became more withdrawn, spending hours reading the Bible and making cryptic remarks to his wife. Clayton, 7, Hunter, 4, and Chase, 3, were described as energetic, loving boys who enjoyed outdoor activities like fishing, go-karting, and swimming. Their mother, Laura, was a devoted parent, completely unaware that the man she trusted would soon take everything from her. This was a family like any other. But on June 15th, 2023, everything changed. What started as a normal day would soon descend into unimaginable horror. June 15th, 2023. It started like any other summer afternoon in the quiet suburban home of the Doerman family. The boys played outside, their mother, Laura, went about her daily routine, and Chad Doerman was preparing for something unthinkable. That morning, Doerman reportedly visited a local clinic but left without speaking to medical professionals. He later told police he had confusing feelings but never explained what they were. Neighbors recall seeing him doing yard work, something he had always done, showing no outward signs of distress. At lunch, he made an eerie comment to Laura, telling her he had just had his last good meal. At one point, he sat reading the Bible aloud, muttering phrases that didn't seem to make sense. Around 4:30 p.m., without warning, Doerman calmly walked inside and retrieved a .22 caliber rifle from the gun safe. He loaded the weapon, stepped into the living room, and called his 3 sons over. In a cold, calculated manner, he raised the rifle and opened fire. Chase, the youngest, was shot first. He fell to the ground, crying in pain. Hunter, just 4 years old, tried to run. Doerman followed him outside, shooting him in the back. Clayton, the eldest, sprinted toward a field, desperate to escape. But Doerman chased him down, dragged him back, and executed him in cold blood. Laura, who had been inside another room, heard the shots and rushed to save her children. She screamed, begged Doerman to stop, but it was too late. Their stepdaughter, in a panic, fled the house and ran to a neighbor's home, dialing 911. When officers arrived, Chad Doerman was emotionless, sitting on the front steps as if nothing had happened. He didn't resist. He didn't run. He simply waited. When asked why he did it, his response was chilling. "I just wanted to do it. I knew this day was coming." The man accused of executing his 3 young sons in cold blood is set to appear before a judge today. Chad Doerman, 32, is facing multiple counts of aggravated murder in what prosecutors are calling one of the most horrific crimes in Ohio's history. June 16th, 2023, just 1 day after the murders, Chad Doerman stood before a judge in Claremont County for his initial court appearance. The charges against him were as grave as the crime itself: 3 counts of aggravated murder, along with additional counts of kidnapping and domestic violence. Prosecutors described the crime as premeditated and methodical, arguing that Doerman planned the murders well in advance. The judge, clearly disturbed by the nature of the crime, set Doerman's bond at $20 million, the highest in the county's history. Laura Doerman, the mother of the slain children, sat in the courtroom sobbing uncontrollably as details of the crime were read aloud. "The state is requesting no bail, Your Honor. The defendant's actions were deliberate, calculated, and carried out with unimaginable cruelty. As investigators dug deeper into the case, they uncovered chilling details from Doerman's confession. The father of three admitted to planning the murders for months. He told police that he had been thinking about killing his sons for a long time. Doerman admitted that he shot each child individually, ensuring they suffered before taking their last breaths. He stated that he had wanted to do it, and that he knew the day would come when he would take their lives. He chillingly told detectives, "I knew this was my fate." When asked if he felt remorse, Doerman remained silent for several seconds before muttering, "I don't know." Authorities also revealed that Doerman's stepdaughter, who made the frantic 911 call, had been forced to watch as her brothers were gunned down. Her eyewitness account would later serve as crucial evidence for the prosecution. This was a calculated, methodical slaughter of innocent children. The defendant took his time, made sure they suffered, and showed no remorse. The death penalty is the only appropriate punishment for a crime of this magnitude. They argued that Doerman was fully aware of his actions and had been planning the murders for weeks. They cited his calm demeanor after the crime, showing no signs of insanity or distress. They presented damning evidence, including surveillance footage from the area and a timeline of his movements before the killings. While this case is horrific, we must consider all factors, including mental health. Mr. Doerman has no prior record of violence, and we believe he was suffering from an undiagnosed psychotic break at the time of the incident. They claimed Doerman may have been experiencing a psychotic episode, arguing for psychiatric evaluation. They presented evidence of his recent mental decline, including withdrawn behavior and obsessive reading of religious texts before the murders. They pushed for a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, arguing that life in prison without parole was a more appropriate punishment. Mr. Doerman does not have a documented history of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or any other psychotic disorder. There is no medical evidence that he was suffering from a break from reality at the time of the murders. After weeks of harrowing testimony, jurors deliberated for only a few hours before reaching a verdict. Chad Doerman was found guilty on all counts. For the premeditated, brutal murder of your three children, this court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted into sobs as the sentence was announced. Doerman showed no visible emotion, staring ahead blankly as the judge condemned his actions as one of the most evil acts imaginable. Laura Doerman, overwhelmed with grief, had to be escorted out of the courtroom by family members. Justice has been served, but it won't bring those babies back. I can't imagine the pain their mother is feeling right now. Though Chad Doerman will spend the rest of his life behind bars, no punishment could ever undo the devastation he caused. The loss of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase will forever haunt those who knew them. The murders of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase Doerman sent shockwaves through the small community of Monroe Township, Ohio. A town where neighbors once felt safe, now gripped by grief, horror, and unanswered questions. Neighbor number 1. I can't wrap my head around it. Those boys were always outside playing, laughing. To know what happened to them, it's unbearable. Neighbor number 2. I keep thinking, could we have seen signs? Could we have stopped this? It's left all of us shaken. No one has suffered more than Laura Doerman, the boy's mother, who was present when their lives were stolen. The pain of losing all three of her children in one night, at the hands of their own father, is unimaginable. They were my babies, my whole world, and he took them from me. I don't know how to go on. Laura has since been in and out of therapy, struggling to cope with the loss. Friends and family describe her as a woman destroyed, living in a nightmare she can't escape. In the weeks following the murders, she moved out of the family home, unable to bear the memories. The community quickly came together to support Laura and honor the lives of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase. Vigils were held, fundraisers organized, and a GoFundMe campaign was set up to help with expenses. The local church held a memorial service where people shared memories of the boys. Schools in the area brought in grief counselors to help classmates process the tragedy. A GoFundMe campaign raised over $100,000 in a matter of weeks, showing the immense support for Laura. This case didn't just devastate a single town, it horrified the entire nation. Across social media, people expressed their heartbreak and fury. The hashtag Justice for the Doerman Boys trended on Twitter. Some called for harsher punishments for child murderers, including automatic death sentences. Others questioned the failures of mental health support, asking if this tragedy could have been prevented. This heartbreaking case reminds us that we must do more to protect our children. We need stronger systems in place to identify warning signs and intervene before it's too late. For those closest to the Doerman family, life will never be the same. The echoes of laughter that once filled the Doerman home have been replaced by silence. A town once filled with warmth is now haunted by tragedy. 3 young lives, full of dreams, stolen in an instant. Monroe Township will never forget Clayton, Hunter, and Chase Doerman. May they rest in peace. As we reflect on this tragic case, we are left with more questions than answers. How could a father, someone meant to protect, love, and cherish his children, become the monster that took their lives? How does a family, a community, and a nation begin to heal from such an unimaginable horror? The case of Chad Doerman serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the most unexpected places. It raises urgent questions about mental health, domestic violence, and the warning signs of familial homicide. It forces us to confront the failures in our society, failures that allow such evil to manifest unchecked. As the legal system moves forward, one thing is certain: justice must be served. But even the harshest sentence cannot undo the pain inflicted that day. It cannot bring back 3 innocent boys whose lives were stolen too soon. Clayton, Hunter, and Chase were full of life, full of love. We don't want them to be remembered for how they died, but for how they lived. In the end, we must remember their names. We must carry forward their light, because while one man took their lives, he cannot take away their story. Final words to the viewer. If you or someone you know is struggling with violent thoughts, seek help. If you suspect someone may be in danger, speak up. We must work together to prevent tragedies like this from ever happening again.
Thanks for watching. For more interesting videos, please subscribe.